Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Slim Science for You, where I try to put the science back into slimming. And today we're going to have a lot of help on this topic, and it's a great opportunity for all of you who are interested in the science of slimming and less around the hype and more of the tools of weight control in your hands. I received an email from the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine and saw that they were going to have a roundtable on obesity solutions. Now, this was really exciting to me because I hadn't realized that the National Academy of Sciences had a focus group specifically on obesity. And as I delved into this, I found that they did. And what's really cool is that the National Academies of Sciences and Engineering and Medicine, the National Academies have this focus on obesity and obesity solutions, but it's also free to the public, it's virtual, it's all online. You can participate, you can even ask questions of the experts that will be holding this roundtable. So it's really exciting. And one quick caveat before I move on, the National Academies of Sciences is a non-governmental organization. It is non-governmental and non-profit. So it doesn't work for pharmaceuticals. It doesn't work for the government. Don't confuse the National Academy with the National Institutes of Health, which is the NIH, which is a government organization. This is not. So here we have this roundtable, and the meeting is going to be next week. It's a multi-day event, the 19th and 20th, and they are going to be, let's see if I can highlight that. I don't think I can. They're going to highlight medications and obesity, exploring the landscape and advancing comprehensive care workshop. Remember, this is all virtual, it's online. So let's hop over to what is going to be on it. All right, so here is the drilling down into that. They're going to talk about medications and obesity and exploring the state of science, right? Slim science for you. They're looking at this. It's so cool. This workshop will explore the relationship between medications and obesity. Let's stop here for a minute and really unpack that. They're not talking about just obesity medications. They're talking about any medications you may be taking, and does that have an impact on obesity? So let's say you're taking a medication for something unrelated to obesity. Is that going to impact how you gain weight or how you lose weight? Does that impact it? And that's been a question that I know I've been wondering about. But they're also going to talk about medications that are used to treat obesity, state of the science around the safety and efficacy of medications in people with overweight and obesity, medications that may cause changes in body weight composition. This I found particularly fascinating because until I started hearing about Wegovy face or Wegovy butt, I'd not really thought about how different weight strategies affected weight composition. And it's not just that visual composition, but how is it affecting the composition of the fat cells in your body? Are some fat cells just resistant? Are we making them resistant? Is there a way to make them compliant? The weight status, medications to treat obesity, and related comorbidities. So this workshop is going to touch on all of that. And so they have a planning committee at the National Academies of Science and Engineering. They're doing this public workshop. And often you may think, oh, public workshop, is that a watered down workshop? I looked at the list of attendees, and indeed not. They have some outstanding presentations, so let's jump into that. So the workshop will explore the relationship between obesity and medications, as well as some of the policies and efficacy around that. Okay, so let's take a look at the agenda so you can budget your time for what you're interested in. Remember, this is the roundtable. It's going to be 2 days. So we're looking here at the first day, the first session of the first day. And so the first session, the whole session in the morning of the first day is going to cover the current state of pharmacokinetics and pharmacology for obesity. I really like this very first one, which is an overview of medications that affect weight status. So this time they're not talking about weight loss drugs per se. They may talk about that somewhat, but they're going to talk about an overview of medications. So it's going to be a review of medications. My guess is they're going to talk about the class of medications and maybe a high level of the function. They appear to have about 20 minutes to do that. Then the second session, altered pharmacokinetics and clinical effects of drugs in patients with obesity. So one of the things that I have found very interesting is I've noticed that when I get a medication, even though I'm 120 pounds overweight, I guess now I'm about 100 pounds overweight. So 100 pounds overweight, I still get the same dose as a normal weighted counterpart. So that's one thing, the amount. But second off, when you look at medications, there's something called the ADME, absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion, ADME, ADME. So that is going to be altered in obese people. But how are medications adapted for those individuals who maybe have different ADME profiles than a normal weighted person that drug may have been gone through clinical trials on? I've always wondered about that. So that's pretty interesting. So then inclusion of subjects with obesity in drug development, current status, and opportunities. Again, I have found a pittance of clinical trials that are available for older individuals. I'm 68. And I would like to see, for my demographic, not necessarily 68, but how about 60 and older? I don't know. I think I've mentioned on this channel that I have lost 100 pounds twice before menopause, and I won't say it was a piece of cake, because that'd probably be a wrong thing to say, but I will say it was so much easier than now. I continuously lost weight. Now, I seem to be defying the laws of thermodynamics because absolutely can't lose weight. After a few pounds lost, I get stuck real quick. So I'd like to know more about that. State of the science in obesity, pharmacotherapy, and future considerations. So this is just the obesity pharmacotherapy. So this would be the weight loss drugs. So if you wanted to see what is the state of the art and you can only attend one, maybe that would be the one you'd want to go to. Although I'm going to probably look at all of them, not in one seating. So that is, let's see, takes us to the lunch break, and then we have day 1 after lunch. So this is session 2. And the topic here is advancing optimal obesity treatment, intersections between treatment options. So this is really cool. So in the morning, they did this nice review of everything, all medications, general, and they did specific. And now here they're going to talk about the actual applications of them, the lived experience of physicians and patients. They're going to have a 30-minute panel, which I really like, where they talk about it. And then there's a Q&A discussion where you saw on that previous website, if you're live, you can put in your questions. Then that is going to be followed by mental and behavioral concerns of adults using anti-obesity medications, the science, the practice, and the so what. Not sure I understand the so what, but I guess I'll find out. Mental and behavioral considerations for children and teens. So I was an overweight teen, and I think if you have an overweight child or teen, this might be something you're really interested in knowing about. Then in the afternoon of the latter part of the afternoon on day 1, nutrition and anti-obesity medications. I think I've mentioned in a previous video that I did that I had fairly little nutrition guidance when I started taking the semaglutide. Probably would have been more successful than I was on it had I had some of that. But in any case, I'm glad they're talking about, is there a way, is there a synergy between the kind of nutrition when you're on these weight loss medications? Then there will be a panel that is shifting the paradigm to a focus on health behaviors. I'm really interested on this, shifting the paradigm to a focus on health behaviors. So it's not clear what it's shifting from. So I'll check it out, but that would have been interesting. And then day 1 is adjourned. So day 2, they're really going to talk about clinical practice, economics, policy challenges of new obesity treatment. So you may not think, if you're not a physician or you're not a policy person, this has no impact on you, but indeed it does, because you can help with some of these if it's important to you and you feel like that is in your swim lane to give your input to, say, elected officials or whomever, or to your physicians, because the first topic is opportunities and barriers for clinical practice guidelines. So opportunities means that maybe something hasn't been done as well as it could be, and what are those opportunities? What are those barriers for clinical practice guidelines? Then there's a break, and then is exploring current research on the economic impact of anti-obesity medications. This is something I've mentioned in another video and that I've talked about, is that the federal government currently, and before I jump into that, let's just go on to the next one because they're related. You can see here in this topic, they're going to talk about the federal perspective considerations of the CBO. So in these two, the 1120 as well as the 1140 presentations, they're going to talk about the economics of weight loss medications. And on the one hand, we have government and even private health insurers saying people start to take these medications, they're really signing up for a lifetime of these drugs. I don't know if that's true. I think it's too early to tell. I don't think they know, but that's what their concern is. And so you have to be cognizant of it to see what they're worried about that's going to cost them money in the long run. On the other hand, we've been told that these comorbidities from being overweight and lost productivity as a consequence of being overweight is huge. And so my question really is, if it is that significant, these other costs, if they're that significant, even if you're looking at a lifetime use of a medication, is that still better use for the dollar? Now, for money. So if by giving somebody this lifetime medication, they control their weight and they never become a diabetic, and then get heart disease, kidney disease, all these other blindness, all these other things, is one going to be less expensive than the other? I don't know, but that is why this is interesting, because part of me says there must be something I'm not understanding if they're not jumping on this and saying, yeah, this is the way to go. I'm going to save a lot of money because people aren't going to be sick if these drugs are good. So very curious about what the genuine hesitation is here. And it makes me wonder if they're as good, the drugs are as good as we're being led to believe. I don't know. So, of course, then on top of it, it's the employer perspective, comprehensive care for the workforce. This, again, I'll be curious about this because clearly the employer is not there to provide care to the workforce. They may be providing health insurance to their workforce, but they're not in the business of making a healthy workforce. They're in the business of creating a widget or something. And if your employees tend to be young, let's say they're fresh out of college, they're 22 and they move on to something else when they're 40, they're may not going to have those bigger problems that happen after a lifetime of obesity. So anyway, I think this pretty much wraps it up. So you can shut off the video here at this point because I'm not going to talk any more about the workshop. strongly encourage you to go. But I am going to talk about the National Academies and these other opportunities. You can see that in September, they're having another roundtable on obesity solutions. So you can really become part of this process, and you can see the players in this, because if you look at the list of presenters, you're going to see there's a great deal of diversities. And by that I mean around across business sectors, from private to companies to, policy groups and so forth. Personally, I'm very interested. I can't wait for the June, well, I can wait, but I'm excited for the June 26th workshop, Going Beyond BMI, Communicating About Body Weight, a second workshop in the series, but then really BMI and beyond, considering context in measuring obesity and its applications. A first workshop in the series, right? We hear a lot about BMI, but there is now, it appears that there is, well, we certainly have a height to weight ratio, and that's your BMI. Starting to appear that maybe BMI is not the end all and be all, is maybe not as informative as we once believed it to be, and what is the better way to do this. So by all means, check out the National Academy of Sciences, what they're doing on these topics, and what you can, how you might benefit from attending. Thanks for your attention, and I look forward to seeing maybe some of you at the workshop. Bye.